Hey everybody, James from Fairclough Studios here. Got another review for you today. This is the Benro Aero 4. They call it the Travel Angel because it's supposed to be like a lightweight, compact video tripod with a fluid head for travelling about all sorts of adventures. And yeah, I've owned it for about 2 years, so this isn't a kind of brand new review. I'd never owned a Benro tripod before. I bought it purely on spec and on a couple of reviews that were available at the time, which wasn't many to be honest. So here's what I think of it. First, the good. The travel case is absolutely fantastic. It's better than any other that I've ever got with a tripod. It's padded, it's dual layered, the strap is really long, it's got these little Velcro tabs here so you can tie the strap up if you're kind of putting it on the back of a pack with its own straps. Got a nice zip down here, and it's a decent size as well. So it's also got, I'll just take the tripod out, put it to one side for now. It's got a little pocket in it here, and in here I keep the plate when I'm not using it because it's not quite a Manfrotto one. I think it's almost the same, but it seems very slightly different to me. And there's also a bag which has the instructions and an Allen key. I'm warning you now, you will need the Allen key because the legs come loose pretty much all the time. Really annoying. So, love the bag, brilliant. As you can see, ours is quite muddy. Last time we used this was in November for a bonfire night shoot. Yeah, we carried this thing a long way. Onto the actual tripod. Here it is. So, for something that's advertised as the smallest, lightest kind of option for travelling, it's not. It's really not. This is quite heavy. This is probably about almost double my Manfrotto B3 Live, which I'm actually using now to film this. I mean, I suppose the trade-off is with a heavier tripod you get better stability and therefore kind of it's worth carrying that extra weight around. However, with this tripod, that doesn't seem to be the case. Now, I'll carry on with the good for a start because there is a lot to like about this tripod, and then we'll get to the things that, yeah, I'm not so sure about. So the best thing about it is the S4 head. This Benro head is the smoothest head I've ever used. It's absolutely phenomenal. It has one big knob there for your tilt axis, and then a little screw here for the pan axis, and they almost touch each other, which is annoying. It is on a ratchet thing, but in a fast production environment when you can't get your, if you're up like that and you're trying to grab it, it's just annoying. So you can change sides with the handle. The padding on the handle to guide the head around it feels really nice. It feels better than the Manfrotto ones. It doesn't feel like cheap plastic. It's got a kind of foamy feel to it, which I like, small things and all that. It's also got a ball head to level up the tripod, really handy, love that feature. Since I've used this, I wouldn't go back to a video tripod that didn't have that. So yeah, that's kind of spoiled me. And all the materials used to make the head are absolutely top notch. The tolerance in the head, there's no wobble at all. It's absolutely superb, can't fault it. The one gripe I have with the head is when you've got a camera mounted on it, when you've got a mirrorless camera especially, it's really hard to tighten this knob here, which screws in the plate and tightens it into the head. So you slide it in and then you tighten that. But if you've got a camera there, you can't turn it, so you've got to ratchet it round. But because there's very little clearance there, it's really hard to ratchet it round. And when you're trying to get something done quickly, it just doesn't happen. It's very, very fiddly, and for that reason I just don't like it at all. The Manfrotto solution on the B3 Live is so much better, where it's just a straight thumb screw and you just kind of screw it in. There's none of this stuff going on, so nothing to get caught anywhere. So again, very tiny details, but something I really don't like about this head. And I've ended up kind of just chucking it in a corner and using a photography tripod instead when it's done that to me. So yeah, maybe user error, but I think it's a bad design. Now let's get on to the legs. Now it looks, because it's kind of, it doesn't fold up that small, like it should be a really decent sized kind of tripod that you can get over people's heads. No, not at all. This, with the centre column extended, is only 5 inches taller than my Manfrotto B3 Live, yet the B3 Live folds up to there, so it's almost double the size when it's packed down. It's also nearly double the weight, and you don't gain any height. So for the extra thickness of the legs, because these are about 10% thicker at the thick end, and this is the last section, that's about double the thickness of the Manfrotto, do you get additional stability? I tested this before, and I have to say, no, absolutely not. These legs aren't rigid enough. There's a lot of flex. At full extension, there is not enough rigidity in it. The Manfrotto B3 Live, with its pencil-thin legs, is actually slightly more rigid and less prone to wobble than this, and I'm absolutely amazed by that. That tripod just floors me every time. So yeah, I've started using that all the time instead of this Benro. I mean, the head is phenomenal, and I really wish the rest of it and the operability of it lived up to the hype and the expectation and the price, but it just doesn't. It has clip locks that I like, but it all feels very plasticky. Like, I'm used to Manfrotto and the aluminium parts. After that, plastic clip locks just don't cut it for me. These screws, like I said, you need the Allen key on hand constantly, because these just come up loose all the time and you end up with a leg flopping around, which makes it impossible to set up, because you're constantly having to fight a leg that comes down, and you can't pick up the tripod when it's got the legs out, because the legs flop in and then you look like a right idiot trying to sort that out. It's got quite an interesting system for locking the legs in different positions. You pull out one of these pins, you put it in position, and you lock the pin in. That's a great system. Like, that works really well. But the kind of good things about this, just really, for me, do not stack up to the bad. I mean, another thing that I like about it, it's got these screw-in feet like a fridge, and if you screw them all the way back, they've got spikes on them. So for multi-surfaces and adjustments and fine adjustments, that's great, because you don't have to have interchangeable feet and spikes. They're both there. That's great. It has a hook on here to attach a weight bag to it, but it's spring-loaded and very difficult to grab hold of. Like, I need to cut my fingernails and I still can't do it. Like, that's annoying. And the rubbery bit that it sits on feels disgusting when you scrape your fingernails across it. Again, small things, but another thing that puts me off using it. Another thing I don't like about this is it's the reverse head style, which I love, because the legs fold up like that. However, they don't encapsulate the head, so it's a complete waste of space. You might as well fold it up the other way, have the centre column. Let's do this. Oh yeah, another thing, if you've got the centre column fully extended, it's an absolute bugger to try and get that down. Another reason why I've stopped using it. So centre column down, because this is the most stable configuration for this tripod. Legs folded down, you can see how awkward this is. And there, and that would be my preferred way to carry this tripod, except in this configuration it does not fit in the travel bag. So yeah, I don't know, my list of complaints seems endless, but I've been using this for 2 years. I really wanted to like it, but I just don't. It's too fiddly, it's too hard to use, it's too big and heavy for any kind of advantage that you get from it. For anything other than kind of using it at the shortest extension, it's absolutely not the best thing in the world. Like, it is good quality, it is well built, and it also has a detachable leg. So the one with the foam on it, you can unscrew that, and you can unscrew the head off. You can put the head on there, and you can use that as a monopod. And that's a faff, and I would much prefer that it had a regular 1/4 inch screw to attach the monopod leg, and then you could screw it straight into the bottom of your camera, because who wants to take a leg and a head off their tripod, leave this half mangled heap of metal around, and then when you need to put it on a tripod you have to take 2 things apart, put them back together, no, I just couldn't be bothered with that. So I've never actually used that. Like, it was one of the selling features for me that it has this detachable tripod leg, monopod leg, sorry. But yeah, it's such a faff to use it that I can't see myself ever needing to do that. I don't like using fluid heads on monopods anyway, because it's just extra stuff to go wrong, extra stuff to think about. So yeah, I was sold on that feature, but I've never actually used it, and yeah, I wouldn't recommend going that route. So yeah, overall, I think this has been one of my most disappointing purchases of the past 2 years. I've researched things quite heavily before I spend my money, because none of this stuff is cheap, but around £250, I do think that's way too much money. For the same price or less, you can get a Manfrotto B3 Live. I think you can probably get the carbon version on offer for about the same price, or for double the price you could get that Peak Design travel tripod, which looks really interesting, which folds up like to the size of a water bottle. I really want to get my hands on one of those and have a play around with that against the Manfrotto. But for me, for now, the Manfrotto B3 Live beats this in every respect, and yeah, unfortunately I'm going to have to let this go, get a second Manfrotto and carry on shooting like that. So let me know what you think in the comments. The Manfrotto B3 Live is my choice, but what's yours? Do you have the Peak Design? What do you think? Is it better than the Manfrotto? I'd love to know. So thanks very much, that's about it for today. Don't forget to subscribe, hit my notification bell to turn on the notifications, see when I've got some more videos coming up. I've got loads of great content coming up, so I'll see you next time. Thanks guys.